Hello and welcome to News Central Now. I am Adebola Adedba. The top stories at this hour. Chief of Army Staff Olufemi Oluyede seeks support in fight against insurgency. Human rights lawyer Deji Adeyanju accuses FCT Minister Nyesom Wike of land grabbing. Voting underway in Ghana's presidential and parliamentary election as opposition candidate John Mahama cast vote. And details shortly. Let's begin by telling you that the newly appointed Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Olufemi Oluyede, says it is time to end insurgency and other security concerns in Borno State and other parts of the country. And this was during the first official visit of the 24th Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Olufemi Oluyede, to Maiduguri in Borno State, where they discussed emerging challenges and pathways of ending the crisis within Borno State. The governor of the state, Professor Bagana Zolom, also made these concerns known. A News Central's correspondent, Umaru Kirawa, has details of that report.
The battle to ending insecurity in Borno and other states in the Lake Chad is continuing. Nigeria's 24th Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Olufemi Oluyede, arrived Maiduguri to seek support and discuss strategies of ending the years of insurgency.
Knowing the attitude of the governor and his perception about the entire insecurity within this region, I believe together we can bring an end, a final end to insecurity within the region. So, my aim this evening is to come to beg more for your support as the governor, and also to impress on the people that I think it's high time we stop the whole thing.
Borno State Governor Professor Babagana Zulum, in his response, urged the Army Chief to strengthen the resilience of frontline troops and appeal for support to resettle more displaced communities.
I received letters from the government of Niger many times that our people are willing to come back. So now we're excavating it. We have everything in manufacturing. Now, government has provided 20 vehicles, 10 new land cruisers to both civilian jet and army. And I'm ready to provide additional support. But people are afraid. There's no way. Some must be killed. Without human population, insurgency will never end. Once we get this town settled, believe me sincerely, Borno State will repeat 1/3 of the nation.
The governor has raised alarm that Boko Haram and ISWAP fighters who attacked Chadian troops in Chad Republic recently have relocated to Borno State, urging for effective response.
So we'll also appeal to Mr. President to release funds so that the operations of MNJTM will take place. MNJTM also has some certain problem of management. There is a need for us to separate civilian administration and MNJTM administration. Where possible, please look into the possibility of establishing a brigade in Budumbari. And I want to assure you that in partnership with the government of Borno State, inshallah, we shall succeed.
The Chief of Army Staff for the next few days will embark on operational tour within and outside the state. In Maiduguri for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
Nigeria's Defense Headquarters has unveiled the nation's Armed Forces 2025 tattoo logo. The Chief of Defense Staff during the launch says that the tattoo logo, which has been carefully designed, will reintroduce regimentation back to the military following years of frontline experience for soldiers battling terrorism and insurgency, and promotes the values of discipline, honesty, valor, and honor. He adds that it will also change the perception of the military in the eyes of the public.
We have been fighting Boko Haram for about 15 years and still counting. A lot of the younger officers now do not have that experience of being in the units and junior officers and soldiers. So this also gives us the ability to be able to bring all those aspects back to them about discipline, about respect, about loyalty, about value, about the need to stand strong, honesty, dignity, and reason why they should protect Nigerians wherever they see themselves, and for Nigerians to also have a buy-in into the armed forces. We are trying to close that gap between the military and the civilian. We don't want people to look at us as monsters because of past experiences. It's a new military, it's Nigerian armed forces, for Nigerians. I want to appeal to all Nigerians to take ownership of this.
People of Okuama community in Uhele, South local government area of Nigeria have appealed to the federal government of Delta State government as well as the Uhele South Local Government Council to prevail on the military holding in detention their leaders to release them so they can get proper medical care. They made the appeal while speaking with our correspondent after they got the news of the death of their President General, James Ogoroko, who reportedly died in custody of the military.
On the 14th of March 2024, Okuama community in Ugele South local government area of Delta State was left with rebels and deserted by its inhabitants after the killings of 17 soldiers who were said to be on a peacekeeping mission to the community. The military thereafter declared the king and other prominent leaders of the community wanted, laid siege on the community for 6 weeks before they finally vacated the destroyed riverine community.
This is a 2-story building. It belongs to Reverend Father Sylvester Enoma.
After the military left, the displaced Okuama residents who returned to the community to pick up the pieces of their lives were constrained with where to start from, until the state governor, Sheriff Oborewori, persuaded them to relocate to the internally displaced persons camp prepared for them at Otoewu Grammar School. While in the camp, on August 4, 2024, about 6 persons of Okuama community, alongside with their President General James Ogoroko, Treasurer Ekubayi, were arrested by some military personnel over the bloodbath that claimed lives of military personnel. Months after in detention, the death of the President General of the community filtered into the air, thereby throwing everyone into mourning. Some of the community leaders and others are here to brief the newsmen about the twist of events in their community.
It's small village that don't have, nobody's representing them. They don't have any big man representing at the government level. Nobody to speak for them. We are only crying to the federal government to speak, to come into this issue. If the military feel that these people, they are not innocent, they should take the matter to court. We are already in court. They should bring these people to court. Let the court take course of this whole thing, rather than what they have been doing to our people. We are pleading. They should release every of Okama leader they are arrested, including the corpse of our President General.
We are calling on the federal government, the state government should come to our aid so that this leader can be released. All these people, they are aged men. They are not young men. So they can't suffer them for what they don't know about.
Eldest son of the late President General of Okuama community, alongside the son of the community treasurer, said the military torture led to the death of their community President General, adding that they got information that the community treasurer was seriously sick.
From there, I was sending money to him for treatment, and it's called upkeep. As of 4 days ago, I said 3 days, maybe 3 days ago, I received a call from there that my dad is late due to the treatment, the exercise he went through in the hands of the military. He could not survive it. He got sick and he could not move from where he was sitting down. He was urinating on where he was sitting. He was excreting in where he was sitting. He could not say a word before he passed on.
And my dad also, Mr. Dennis Okugbaye, is seriously sick. He's on diapad, can't walk, pull, wheel, where he's sitting, and we have not gotten any serious information about his treatment.
Even as they mourn their President General, Okuama leaders pledged to remain peaceful, as they have always been, with no intention of taking the laws into their own hands. In Delta, for News Central, I'm Austin Azu.
In the meantime, Senator Ovie Omoagege, the former Deputy President of the Senate, is calling for a thorough and transparent investigation into the death of James Ogoroko, the President General of Okuama Development Association, who died in military custody. Omoagege, who represented Delta Central Senatorial District from 2015 to 2023, condemned the military's handling of the issue, stating that the arrest and detention of the community leaders without trial is illegal. Omoagege emphasized that the community leaders, including Pa Ogoroko, are civilians who should have been tried in a civil court. He expressed concerns that the people in the area believe their leader was tortured, leading to his death. The senator urged for an independent investigation to dispel any inaccurate perceptions and ensure justice for all parties involved. Human rights lawyer and activist Deji Adeyanju has accused the minister of the Federal Capital Territory of land grabbing and selling the same land to cronies, leaving the original owners to suffer. The allegation was made during a press briefing in Nigeria's capital, Abuja, where he also criticized the government of violating the rights of citizens in the light of the recent arrest and detention of investigative journalist Fisayo Shoyombo and human rights activist Dele Farotimi. Our correspondent Eden Joseph has more.
The public space in Nigeria has recently witnessed increased tension following the arrest of investigative journalist Fisayo Soyombo and social critic Dele Farotimi. Both were detained over allegations of defamation and crude oil bunkering, issues that have sparked heated debates across the country.
The police officers who are going all over the place, who are being mobilized from state to state to arrest people, are needed in Zamfara. There's a new terrorist group called Lakurawa or something like that. The police officers are needed. It is because of the idleness of the police and other security agencies that's why insecurity festers in the country.
As the federal government intensifies its crackdown on dissent, Deji Adeyanju accused opposition parties of being compromised in the fight for democracy and good governance.
Opposition must challenge, opposition must confront the government in power. If my remarks, which comes very strongly about my perception and my resolve about providing credible opposition to the government, if this remark is too hard a pill for the opposition to swallow, then it is most unfortunate and regrettable.
Adeyanju also extended his criticism to the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, whom he accused of land grabbing and using his political influence to illegally acquire public land. One of those recently evicted from her property also expressed her distress, describing her ordeal since her alleged illegal eviction.
All the land by his fence as well on the left, he has also demolished and taken it. Just by his fence, including that Asokoro Buzape. So, I don't understand what is going on in this country.
2 weeks Friday, they came in without information and they demolished every building there, including the park. I asked why. One of them said I should ask the minister.
With allegations of political compromise, corrupt land deals, and suppression of free speech, Deji Adeyanju is calling for more transparency and accountability. He calls on the president to issue an executive order to prevent the police from handling civil matters. In Abuja for News Central, I am Eden Joseph.
We'll take a short break now. When we return, federal government warns of new COVID-19 variant XX strain. Details shortly after the break. Thank you for staying tuned. President Bola Tinubu has approved the appointments of chief executive officers, CEOs for the National Universities Commission, NUC, and the Nigerian Educational Research and Development Council, NEDC. The president also appointed CEOs for the Solid Minerals Development Fund, Presidential Artisanal Gold Mining Initiative, and a new partnership for Africa Development. Bayo Onuga, presidential spokesman, said in a statement on Friday that Tinubu appointed Abdullahi Yusuf Ribado, a visiting professor at the NUC, as the Commission's executive secretary. In the meantime, President Bola Tinubu has made significant changes to the proposed leadership of the Southeast Development Commission. In a revised list submitted, the president made this known to the Senate for confirmation, where he replaced the initial chairman nominee, Emeka Atuma, with Dr. Emeka Nwogo. The new executive directors have also been appointed, including Stanley Ohajuruka as executive director of finance and Toby Okechukwu as executive director of project. Mark Okoye will continue as managing director, chief executive officer. The revised list increases the board's membership from 15 to 16. The nominations are subject to Senate confirmation. The People's Democratic Party has expelled Ikenga Imogu Chinyere, the member representing Idiato North, Idiato South Federal Constituency of Imo State, with immediate effect. Now, the expulsion is due to allegations of gross indiscipline, insubordination, and anti-party activities. According to the Imo PDP Publicity Secretary, Lancelot Obiak, Ugo Chinyere was found guilty of deliberately failing to attend party meetings and engaging in unauthorized publicity of dispute within the party. He was also accused of forming parallel executive and organs of the party. The expulsion was conveyed in a letter by the Idiato Local Government Area Chapter of the party. Nigeria's National Human Rights Commission has called for an end to workplace rights abuses in the country. The executive secretary of the commission gave this call during a high-level stakeholders forum, which focused on protecting the rights of workers as part of activities marking the International Human Rights Day. He expressed concerns about inhumane labor practices, especially in Nigeria's informal sector, calling for an end to child labor and poor working conditions by employers in urban areas.
As we commemorate the 2024 International Human Rights Day, let us reaffirm our collective dedication to advancing human rights in all spheres, with a particular focus on the business sector. Let us work tirelessly to ensure that economic development in Nigeria is not achieved at the expense of human dignity, but rather enhances and complements it. Let us ensure there is responsible business conduct. This gathering is a crucial opportunity to forge a new path, one that places justice and accountability in the heart of business operations.
Stakeholders in Benin City, the Edo State capital, have called for a paradigm shift in the conversations bordering on gender-based violence, particularly regarding the role of men. And this was during a one-day sensitization program organized as part of the 16 Days of Activism campaign against gender-based violence, but this time against both genders. The program focused on the role and responsibility of men in combating the scourge via a more inclusive approach.
Not always having a program organized by the women for the women, but we deem it fit that let the men organize the program. It's not tied to only men to participate, but at least let the men actually spearhead this discussion. At that point, I was able to talk to myself as a man to say, let me act better than I was doing. And of course, I'm also able to look at the next man when he's acting in a line that is not proper, and also draw his attention to it.
Based on a survey conducted 2 years ago, we realized that, and based on data also, that most of the perpetrators of this crime, so to say, are mostly the young folks. Right? If there are 10 cases of gender-based violence, about 7 of them will be caused by men. So now feel that if we can just decide to have a conversation, let's see how we can actually bring out the men. Let's also find out what we can actually do to reduce this gender-based violence in our communities and families.
Now let's switch gears to health matters, where the federal government has urged health authorities to activate heightened alert systems in response to the newly detected XEC COVID-19 variant that is rapidly spreading worldwide. XCC is the latest in a long list of past and current COVID variants being monitored as the COVID-19 virus naturally evolves. The directive comes after the strain was first identified in Australia and has now reached more than 24 countries. The federal government's directive was contained in a letter signed by the ministry's permanent secretary, head of the Teaching Hospital Division, Dr. O.N. Anoma, and addressed to the Committee of Chief Medical Directors and the Medical Directors. The directive also highlighted the importance of collaboration and timely information sharing among health institutions and the Federal Ministry of Health and Social Welfare to ensure an effective response. Residents of Sir Akila community located along the Makurdi-Gboka Road recently received free medical care through an outreach organized by several community-based organizations. Now, this initiative, which aimed to address healthcare challenges within the community, focused on poor residents and those unable to afford proper medical care.
We have done a series of need assessment, and we discovered that the people in this community are having different health challenges, and because of their low socioeconomic status, they are unable to access the health facilities that are around them because of poor transport, funding, and other resources.
And we appreciate them so much. We give our attention to them, and we also recognize their coming, and we tell our people to go and check themselves. We thank them so much.
After 9 years of seizure at the Honest Seaports in Rivers State, the critical equipment required to put the power plants at Alaoji have been recovered. The Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of Nigeria Delta Power Holding Company, Jennifer Adihije, was at the facility in Alaoji to inspect the equipment. She says the management is committed to making the project succeed after nearly a decade of standstill due to the held-up equipment meant to facilitate the project. The chief executive, however, says she is dissatisfied at the pace of work being done by the contractor and advised them to step up to have the project delivered on time.
We're here to take delivery of some of our critical, very critical equipment that had been stranded at Yon Airport for close to 10 years, containing very critical equipment that is required for us to accelerate the progress on the project. They've gained some traction on the project, not to our expectations, but as the management, we're ready to continue to express our commitment to providing all the necessary tools and enablers that would ensure that we maintain the handshake for us to be able to deliver on the project. And so we're working together with them on a very robust recovery plan to ensure that we can recover lost time and that we can deliver on our new targets. We do recognize the fact that there cannot be sustainable socioeconomic development without access to electricity. So as one of the cardinal agenda of our leadership, we want to ensure that our projects we're able to complete them as planned, and we're able to continue to sustain the renewed hope agenda of Mr. President.
In an effort to combat Nigeria's growing unemployment crisis and promote self-reliance, the federal government, in collaboration with the National Water Resources Institute, has launched a transformative skill acquisition program. Now, this initiative aims to empower Nigerian youth with practical skills in waterway management, drilling, and pump technology to reduce dependency on traditional white-collar jobs. Our correspondent, Idon Joseph, tells us more.
The program, initiated by the federal government in collaboration with the National Water Resource Institute, addresses the high unemployment rates and economic challenges faced by young Nigerians. It provides not only knowledge, but also starter kits to help participants embark on their journey towards financial independence. The skills acquired are essential, focusing on modern technological advancements in water resource management a vital sector for the nation's development.
Government cannot provide employment to all the youths, but they can train them so that they can be on their own. And on their own means that they can also be, they can employ others people.
Participants in this transformative program were selected from all 6 geopolitical zones of Nigeria, ensuring that every region benefits from the opportunities created. As Nigeria faces a wave of young people seeking better opportunities abroad, the leadership of the National Water Resource Institute is urging graduates to resist the Japa syndrome and instead use their newfound skills to help drive the nation's economic growth.
The number of people with certificates are very many, but they are not employable. Those ones are what will give them sustenance in life. With what they have gotten here, if they go to practice, they will to sustain themselves and maintain their family. The environment is there, and the space is there. So let them develop themselves. They should stop lazying.
Some of the beneficiaries of the program say that they are eager to pass on their knowledge to others, thereby multiplying its impacts.
Based on the program I was benefited from, which is water well drilling, we have been trained in so many aspects. So I need to help to empower others in my locality. And with this, I can be self-employed because I can get my contract out there and work.
I can't say that I don't have a job. I am now having a job. And with this certificate, I can be able to collect contract from any organization.
This initiative is one of many efforts being put in place to create lasting change in Nigeria's economy, offering young people the skills, resources, and confidence needed to forge their own paths to success.
Coming up, voting underway in Ghana's parliamentary and presidential elections. We have details shortly. Join us again. Thank you for staying tuned. Voting is underway in Ghana's presidential and parliamentary elections, with Vice President Mahamudu Bawumia and former President John Mahama facing off in a closely contested race. Polling stations opened at 7 GMT and will close at 17 GMT. Now, full results of the presidential election are expected by Tuesday. The election is seen as a crucial test for Ghana's democracy, with the country seeking to maintain its reputation as one of West Africa's most democratic country. Opposition candidate and ex-president John Dramani Mahama cast his votes in Ghanaian city of Bole in a tight presidential election race, pitting him against Vice President and former central banker Mahamudu Bawumia. Ghanaians have voted in a closely contested presidential election featuring Vice President Mahamudu Bawumia and opposition ex-president John Mahama. Economic challenges, including high inflation, debt default, and a $3 billion IMF bailout, have dominated the campaign. Voters will choose a successor to President Nana Akufo-Addo, completing his 2 terms, and elect a new parliament. Burkina Faso's ruling military leader, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, has dismissed the country's Prime Minister, Apollinaire Joachim, and dissolved the government. Now, the presidential decree gave no reason for the dismissal. The sacked premier has served at the head of 3 successive governments since October 2022. And this development comes amid ongoing instability in the West African country, which has been plagued by jihadist violence and military coups since 2020. Hundreds of people rallied in Chad's capital, in N'Djamena, in support of the government's decision to end military cooperation with France. Now, the protesters carried placards and waved the country's colors, calling for an end to French military presence. Chad's government announced the decision last week, citing a desire to rein to regain sovereignty in national defense matters. The move reflects waning French influence in the region following the removal of French troops from neighboring countries.
Notre manifestation est pacifique. Nous ne sommes pas ennemis pour la France et la France n'est pas ennemie pour le Tchad. C'est comme d'autres coopérations et ce n'est pas la première fois. Les troupes français sont venus au Tchad, sont retirés. Ils sont venus au Tchad, sont retirés. Et maintenant, on dit clairement à tout le monde, à tous les Africains, à tous les Tchadiens, que nous sommes, alhamdulillah, nous sommes forts. Et c'est pour cela que nous sommes des religieux et nous appuyons cette décision qui est courageuse.
At least 90 people have been killed in Mozambique amid clashes between anti-government protesters and security forces, sparked by October's disputed presidential election, civil society group Plataforma Decide said on Friday. Unrest has rocked the southern African nations since an October 9 polls, which was won by the ruling Frelimo party in power since 1975, but announced as fraudulent by opposition parties. In a post on social media, a Plataforma Decide said 90 people have been killed between October 21st and December 5th, and nearly 3,500 people detained. A fresh wave of protests launched on Wednesday turned deadly, with police confirming at least 5 people were killed and 3 others wounded. Meanwhile, National Police spokesman Orlando Modemain said that among the fatalities, some were run over and beaten, and that none of the victims were police officers.
Tem pessoas que morreram hoje aqui, tem pessoas, amigos, vizinhos que morreram hoje aqui. Tem pessoas que estão mal até agora. Eles não sei estão aí a fazer pressão do quê? Porque eles também estão mal e não receberam, a família deles estão passando mal. É o que é isso que estão a fazer? Que nos deixem, nós lutamos pelo nosso país, pá.
Moçambique é nosso país, ninguém vai nos maltratar, esse país é nosso. Nós somos moçambicanos, temos o nosso direito. Todo o país tem direito de fazer manifestação. Por que nós não podemos manifestar no nosso país? Esse país é nosso e sempre será nosso.
At least 9 bodies have been retrieved from Steel Fountain mine, where many are believed to be still trapped underground for weeks now. More illegal miners have been resurfacing from abandoned surrounding shafts. Meanwhile, relatives and the community continue to send food down Shaft 11. Our correspondent, Bongani Sisiba, fills us in.
When the unthinkable is happening deep underground, these community members are united in hope and grit. Every day, they descend into the bowels of despair, sending supplies to loved ones. They refuse to lose hope.
Whatever we came up with as the community leaders is that we'll go out there and ask for donations so that people, they can get food, they can get their strength from there, they must resurface.
Every single day, these volunteers come to this shaft to pull up this rope of hope, but so far they've been met with anguish and pain as dead bodies surface.
We are feeling very sad because now we are sitting on the 9th body. We are just praying, and the system that we are using is very slow. We are praying that we take out alive people, because the more we see dead bodies, is the more we get more frustrated. Most especially some of us who have family members down there. We always wondering that who's next, what's happening.
In this battle against the dark, hope is their strongest ally, so is their resolve. But for those who make it alive, danger lurks. The police are on standby, ready to enforce order. This is no longer just a rescue, it's a game of cat and mouse. Speaking to News Central, these community members feel neglected by the government.
Our government doesn't see us. Even what we are doing here, it doesn't raise even a 50 cents to these things that we are buying. We are trying to get to buy here, to like a rope. A problem is a rope to pull those people. It's too much expensive. Yes, but our government, it never come to us and give us even 10 rand to say a donation is here. As a government, we are giving you this 10 rand.
With every day passing, these community members bond together, united by love, loss, and desperation of bringing their loved ones back from the depth of the earth, while fighting against a system that has abandoned them. In Stilfontein, Northwest Province in South Africa, for News Central, Bongani Siziba.
The Syrian government's forces have lost control of Daraa city, a significant blow to President Bashar al-Assad's rule. The city, dubbed the cradle of revolution, was taken by local armed groups, according to the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights. This development comes after rebels seized control of Aleppo and Hama in recent days. The observatory reports that local factions now control over 90% of Daraa province, with regime forces pulling out. Daraa province borders Jordan and has been plagued by unrest despite a Russia-brokered truce.
دخلت الثوار على حماه كانت بالنسبه لنا فرحه كبيره وعم نستناها من 2011 عم نستنى هي الفرحه وانهم يحرروا هالبلد والحمد لله وان شاء الله من حماه لحمص ومن حمص للشام ولسوريا كلياتها سوريا لنا وما لحدا غيرنا.
بفضل الله عز وجل تم فتح حماه وان شاء الله للرسا ولحمص ولدمشق ان شاء الله تعالى ونطالع معتقلينا واسرانا واسيراتنا واخواتنا باذن الله عز وجل. هاي حماه المدينه اخذناها قوة عندك وعن شبيحتك الله أكبر وعن شبيحتك يا بشار.
South Korea's President Yoon Yeol apologized for declaring martial law but stopped short of resigning. The president's apology came after lawmakers voted down his decree, forcing him to rescind the order. The opposition and some members of Yoon's own party are calling for his impeachment, with a vote set to take place in Parliament. Tens of thousands of protesters gathered outside the Parliament building, demanding Yoon's resignation. The President's People Power Party is divided on the issue, with some lawmakers opposing impeachment despite the party head calling for Yoon's resignation.
존경하는 국민 여러분, 저는 12월 3일 밤 11시를 기해 비상계엄을 선포했습니다. 약 2시간 후 12월 4일 오전 1시경 국회의 계엄 해제 결의에 따라 군의 철수를 지시하고 심야 국무회의를 거쳐 계엄을 해제하였습니다. 이번 비상계엄 선포는 국정 최종 책임자인 대통령으로서의 절박함에서 비롯되었습니다. 하지만 그 과정에서 국민들께 불안과 불편을 끼쳐드렸습니다. 매우 송구스럽게 생각하며 많이 놀라셨을 국민 여러분께 진심으로 사과드립니다. 저는 이번 계엄 선포와 관련하여 법적, 정치적 책임 문제를 회피하지 않겠습니다.
In the world of sports, Kenya's Football Federation will elect a new president today amid mounting concerns about the country's readiness to host the African Nations Champion CHAN in February. The election follows months of controversy, including the 2021 arrest of outgoing President Nick Mwendwa over alleged financial irregularities. The caretaker committee temporarily managed the FKF before FIFA reinstated the board and corruption charges against Mwendwa were dropped. With Mwendwa ineligible after 2 terms, the vote comes as Kenya faces pressure to complete preparation for CHAN, jointly hosted with Uganda and Tanzania. Liverpool's Merseyside derby against Everton, scheduled for Saturday, was postponed due to severe weather caused by Storm Dara, which brought high winds and heavy rain across the UK. The decision was made for safety reasons after discussions involving both clubs, local police and Liverpool City Council. The storm has disrupted travel and prompted a rare red weather warning for southwest England and Wales. This match would have been the final Premier League derby at Goodson Park before Everton's move to a new stadium next season. Real Madrid winger Rodrigo will not be fit to face Girona on Saturday in La Liga, the Spanish club has confirmed. The Brazilian was a late dropout from the champion squad, with Spanish media reporting he's suffering muscular discomfort in his left leg. Kylian Mbappe is expected to lead the line for Madrid, second behind leaders Barcelona, with Jude Bellingham and Brahim Diaz in support. Vinicius Jr. is also out due to injury, but should return when Champions League holders Madrid face Atalanta on Tuesday, bidding to overcome a poor start in Europe. And that's all on the news. Let's take a look again at some of the major stories. Chief of Army Staff Olufemi Oluyede has sought support in fight against insurgency. Human rights lawyer Deji Adeyanju has accused FCT Minister Nyesom Wike of land grabbing. We also told you that voting is underway in Ghana's presidential and parliamentary elections as opposition candidate John Mahama cast the vote. You can watch News Central live on DSTV, Channel 422, Star Times, Channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Adibola Adidiba.